All right, hello everyone, and welcome to this YALSA snack break. My name is Michelle Nichols. I'll be your host, and this is called Starting Conversations with Museums. This is myself. I am an educator at the Adler Planetarium in Chicago. I've been here since 1995, mostly specializing in informal education, or what is sometimes called out of school time education. In the past 2 years, I've been working with the Chicago Public Library System, especially the wonderful library staff involved in creating and facilitating their teen programs. And a few weeks ago, I participated in a YALSA webinar highlighting our collaborations with the Chicago Public Library, and some questions came up during the session about how to start conversations with museums, if you're a library and you're interested in that sort of thing. So in this snack break, I'm going to give you some suggestions from the museum point of view to do just that. So what we will cover today is exactly that, where to start and where to get the conversation going and with whom. I've included a few low-hanging fruit suggestions, but don't take my lists as exhaustive lists. Library staff and museum staff are very creative people, and I'm sure that folks can come up with a lot more suggestions than what I've come up with here. And finally, I'll give you a couple examples of museum library partnerships and some other resources you can take advantage of. So let's go. Okay, so you want to call a museum. You want to talk to someone about partnerships or collaborations, but you just don't know who to talk to or who to ask for. This slide indicates at least a start as to who you can ask for, both in terms of a department name to look to and the titles of some folks who may be involved with talking about and possibly making decisions about institutional partnerships. And note that I didn't indicate what kind of museum you should speak to. The sky literally is the limit. You can talk to science museums, historic houses, nature centers, zoos, aquaria, planetariums, cultural centers, art museums. Just one thing to remember. If you're interested in a collaboration, the smaller the institution is, the more likely the staff there are filling more than one role. The director of the museum may also be the one and only educator on staff. Some really tiny places are also like many libraries and may only employ a handful of full-time staff, or maybe even only one person is full-time. The rest may be part-time or even volunteers, but all of them are likely to have the same thing on their minds: doing what is best for their visitors and doing great programs for the folks who come by. All right, so before you start diving into the conversation about partnership details, take a step back. Many organizations create their event plans and calendars months or a year or even more in advance, especially if they have to search for grants or donors or sponsorship dollars. At the very first meeting, just get to know the staff there and the range of programs they have, and come to the table with examples of programs that you might do too. Start by saying that you want to see where you and the museum might meet eye to eye and finding out if there are opportunities for mutual programming in the future. But don't walk in April thinking that the museum will provide staff for programs during your summer reading series in June. That's a little too much. Start small and work up from there. Discuss your common ground. Maybe instead of taking care of all the discussions and meetings, offer to host a few of your local museum staff at one or two of your representative programs. See if they wouldn't mind hosting you at one of their programs or events. This getting to know you step is probably the most important, because if you do it right, it shows both institutions that both are coming to the table as equals, and this lays the groundwork for true collaboration in the future. There are some very low-cost ways you can start to work together. Don't try to accomplish everything all at once. Get your partnership going and see how the relationship plays out. Start with one thing and add later. The Chicago Public Library has had a kids museum passport program for several decades, where families with kids can check out a pass at the local library for admission to a number of Chicago museums. This could be a great place to pluck a piece of low-hanging fruit. Make sure both of you figure out how this could benefit both of your audiences and both of your institutions. Maybe a few more ideas could include bringing your bookmobile to a museum event. Have the museum plan an event that takes place at the library. Maybe split themes between institutions. For example, if Earth Day is coming up, plan a series of programs related to Earth Day at the library that lead into the Earth Day celebration at the museum. See if the museum can offer special discounted passes to their Earth Day event that could be given to your patrons who come to your lead up Earth Day programs. It would be a fantastic and fairly simple way to track the impact of your partnership to see if you are both drawing from the same audience pool. Maybe your library staff can facilitate a book-related activity at the museum. If you hand out special bookmarks at those programs and stamp them each time a child participates in a book program at the museum, well, maybe that fully stamped bookmark can be redeemed for a special prize during your summer reading program. Again, look for ways to track cross-institutional audience participation, but make sure those ways don't break the bank and they're easy to handle on both sides. And there are probably even more ideas that you can generate together. These were just a few that came to the top of my mind, but you are all very creative folks. I'm sure there are ways you can come up with together. So first, just get to know the staff and find your common ground. As I said before, work up to addressing the low-hanging fruit, but take care of the getting to know you tasks first. And regarding money, the second bullet point that's on the slide, museums look like they have a lot of money, but they often really don't. But they do know how to make the best out of situations with small amounts of money, just like you do at your library. If you only have small amounts to start with, fine. If you do good quality programs together that meet the needs of your mutual audiences and you can show impact, then donors and sponsors will take notice. You may have to start with some small collaborations first, show proof of concept, and then you can then go with that information, go to a donor or a sponsor, and hopefully the dollars will follow after that. On this slide are a few examples of some museum library partnerships. The info zone at the Indianapolis Children's Museum is an actual library branch located within the museum itself. There are definitely more examples. This is by no means an exhaustive list. Look for those particular examples. You may have some in your city. You may have to look at websites for some other cities, check museum websites, check library websites. Contact those folks, ask questions. Museums, just like libraries, are always up for sharing. For more resources, consider attending a museum conference. Two large examples are the Association of Science Technology Centers, and the way you'll look for that online is Association of Science Technology Centers. The acronym is ASTC. It's pronounced Aztec, so that's a big science museum workshop or meeting that's held every year, usually in around the September-October timeframe. Another one is the American Alliance of Museums. That one is called AAM, and the main meeting for that one is attended by museums from all over the country. It's enormous. They have literally thousands of people who attend that meeting, and that one is usually held in the spring. There are also smaller regional museum consortia as well, such as the Association of Midwest Museums. That's one of them, and there are others across the country. And there are even state museum organizations. I'm from Illinois. There is an Illinois organization that covers museums in this particular state. Many, many other states have the same thing. There are lots of levels of folks who can help you meet your needs. Invite your local museum staff maybe to attend a state, regional, or even local library meeting. They may be interested in learning who the faces are that are in your local region. If you have a particularly good relationship that develops, tell people about it. Do joint meeting or conference presentations, or maybe even your own YALSA webinar in the future. Thanks for taking the few minutes to watch this webinar. My final message, and I'll read it right off the slide: museums want to do good work for their visitors and help them learn as you do for your patrons. We are all sailing in this same boat together, headed in the same direction. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. My email address is listed in the second slide in this presentation. I definitely look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for your attention.